common sense.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So we're ready to go. Senator White.
So I'd like to ask about the status of the aviation white paper. Can you give us an update on where it's at?
Yes, Senator, we can give you an update, and my colleague Ms Werner will be able to take you through the detail. I might start off. As you might know, the terms of reference were released on the 7th of February earlier this year. Stakeholders were invited to make submissions about the issues raised in the terms of reference by the 10th of March. We have received 192 submissions. 82 were from members of the public and 110 from organisations. We have also held roundtables, 2 of them virtual, 4 face-to-face, and a range of individual consultations on issues that will be raised in the aviation white paper terms of reference. Ms Werner might have a little bit more detail about the consultations as well, if you like.
Thanks very much.
I'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yes. Stephanie Werner, First Assistant Secretary, Domestic Aviation and Reform Division. So we had 97 different organisations attend the consultations from all levels of government, airlines, metropolitan and regional airports, general aviation, regulators, community groups, energy, technology, training, union and industry groups. The roundtable discussions included the transition to net zero, industry sustainability, technological change, international competitiveness, workforce and skills. And all of that work is feeding into a draft green paper which we expect will be released in the middle of this year.
So you've, I guess, talked about some of the key issues for the industry. Is there anything else in the terms of reference that you're still seeking to get feedback on?
Thank you, Senator. I mean, we've had excellent engagement from industry and from stakeholders across the sector. I think we've got a good range of input across all of the issues that we were expecting to cover in the terms of reference.
So when was I mean, this follows a procedure. You mentioned green paper. So can you just explain what a green paper is, just for those who might not know?
So the green paper it's sort of like an issues paper. So we'll come out to, or the Minister will come out to the community having received submissions on the issues raised in the terms of reference, discuss what the issues are that industry and the community have identified and indicate what the government is thinking of doing in response to those issues raised, and then seek further comment from stakeholders on whether what other issues they would like to raise with regard to the issues that have been identified and whether they're supportive of the proposed actions or have concerns with them.
So how long will there be between the green paper and the white paper being released?
So I would expect it to be almost 1 year, perhaps 10 months. So we expect the green paper to be released in the middle of 2023. We'll then have the opportunity for stakeholders to make written submissions, which we'll probably have open for around 3 months. We'll also conduct a further set of roundtables around the country to hear from stakeholders in person, and then the government will go through the process of deciding what is to come out in the white paper, which we expect to be released in the first half of 2024.
So it's not unusual, is it, for when you've done the green paper, for other things to come out? And the difference between the green paper and the white paper can, in some instances, be significant. Is that correct?
Yes, it's certainly the case that a significant new issue could emerge that we need to address in the white paper that was not reflected in the terms of reference for the green paper.
And so this is a process that does happen a bit in government, doesn't it? So, and it's happened in aviation before, hasn't it? When was the last white paper in aviation?
The last white paper in aviation, Senator, was in 2009.
So that was during the Rudd Labor government. There was the process. Is that right? That's the last process.
I understand that's the case. The other thing in terms of that I might add, Senator, in terms of the difference between the green paper and the white paper is the green paper might actually ask questions as well, not necessarily put solid positions. but there might be specific questions that we are keen to get stakeholder engagement on that we'll be asking in relation to certain topics. And then the white paper is the government's policy position in relation to that.
Yeah, I understand that because I participated in the 2009 white paper process in aviation significantly. So I'm reasonably familiar with it. But so was there any other process between 2009 and currently that the previous government did in terms of work on the aviation industry?
I might have to check. There was a lot of work on the aviation industry, particularly during COVID. COVID providing a very unique set of circumstances, and to make sure that the aviation industry made it through to the other side of COVID. And so there was work there. I wouldn't like to go to what advice or was provided to government. There was work done there in terms of
but there wasn't that was a crisis
out.
Situation, wasn't it? Because we were in COVID and there were major recipients of JobKeeper. But I'm talking about what you're talking about, which is a forward-looking program to 2050. Was there anything like that happened between 2000, well, from the term of the previous government, 2013 and...
So there have been a series of policy consultations around aviation undertaken by the previous government or parliament. The Productivity Commission inquired into the economic regulation of airports 2018 to 2019. There was a Future of Australia's Aviation Sector Issues paper in 2020, the Future of Aviation Reference Panel from 2020 to 2021, and the Senate Standing Committee on Rural and Regional Affairs and Transport has conducted 3 inquiries into the aviation industry in that time.
So those were specific issues about specific things, like airports as airports as a subsector, but none of those are industry-wide, are they? This is like wide-reaching, everybody that's in it is in it.
This is the white paper process is a broad reaching process and touches almost every area of the aviation sector.
Including the workers.
Yes, including workforce.
And the unions. And people who represent people and airports and local government and a whole lot of people, isn't it? Each one of those things that those inquiries that you just have talked about are not as broad. That would be a fair summation, wouldn't it?
Without having gone through each of those, I think...
Well, luckily for you, I have, right? And I was intimately involved in the rollout of COVID money in airlines intimately, and I saw many people lose their jobs, so I'm absolutely intimately understand it all. But I think a white paper process, as you described, is really quite a significant consultation process, and lots of people, members of the public, all sorts of people put in, don't they? That's really the aim of it all. So anybody who described this as not consulting people, a short-term process, would be wrong, wouldn't they, really?
Yes, I wouldn't describe it as a short-term process.
No.
White paper does take a significant amount of time. Consultation is done very broadly, and I think Ms Werner mentioned the types of organisations we've had in consultation, and that included community representatives as well. So we have consulted very broadly within the aviation sector.
Yeah, because it's the complex industry that's subject to a lot of change, isn't it? And it's shocks, basically. So it's a vital for an island like ours at the end of we're a spoke in the whole scheme of things. It's pretty vital to get that right, isn't it, and understand the pressures and the issues. Am I correct in that summation?
That's correct, Senator. It's both international and domestic.
Yeah.
It includes different layers within domestic as well, including regional, different aircraft as well. The issues, it's also looking over the horizon, issues out to 2050, and how that will affect the sector.
Aircraft fuel?
Absolutely, aircraft fuel, different types of fuel, the transition to decarbonisation, what that means for airports, not just airlines, and how the industry can adjust and what it needs to take into account.
And workforce,
As well.
which is fairly reactive, isn't it? Because bunches of people go out of the workforce and training them. It's not a short horizon to do so, is it?
That's correct, and what we found during COVID is a lot of people left the aviation industry, and so there was a lot of took a lot of time for the industry to train up new workforce and new recruits. They left the industry and didn't come back in a lot of cases. But workforce issues going forward are also around the skills we might need now, but also the skills we might need in the future, and how the workforce needs will change.
And can I ask you further, have you had engagement from foreign airlines?
I would need to double check.
Or are you just looking at the domestic air?
Well, we're certainly looking at our settings with regard to access for international airlines to Australia. Air New
So what,
Zealand-
air service agreements as well, are you?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, so Air New Zealand has attended some of our consultations.
Thank you. Thanks for that.